We're just leaving Lake Hart on Port Augusta, and it's all a massive interconnected salt lake system, which includes Lake Frome, Lake Eyre, Lake Gardner and whatever, which was one massive lake system in times past. One of the red sand dunes that is characteristic right throughout this big swirl of sand dunes around Central Australia. That we're crossing one of the tributaries of Island Lagoon now, and we'll make our way over this dune and on our way to Port Augusta. The dune's quite red, which indicates its richness in minerals. We're just cresting one of the breakaways or jump ups that's the source material for the nearby rocks, travelling along the top of one of these mesa-like jump ups. Quite flat, again very rich ironstone surface. We're just adjacent to the little village of Pimbar. The Woomera Missile Park is to our left, or Roxby Downs uranium mine, and we're going to go in and have a brief look at the missile park. This is also the area of the Andamuka opal field in 113 k's or so. It's interesting how all these opal fields are on what was the beaches of the Eromanga Sea, this massive inland sea, which is in essence the Great Artesian Basin of today. We're just coming into Woomera, and this of course was the site of where the British did a lot of investment in Australia, and Australia developed a lot of unique technology associated with the Woomera rocket range. Australia and that's the Long Tom missile, and Len Bedell had developed all the Ann Bedell Highway, Gary Junction and etc highways around through this whole area from here right up to Carnarvon, allowing the British a 3,000 mile clear launch to landing capability so they could test intercontinental ballistic missile. Particularly interesting area because the University of Queensland is developing their ramjet technology using the Woomera facilities so it'll be very exciting when that's fully developed. We have the various aircraft and missiles that were associated with Woomera, and all of these at some stage were tested here. You can see the multiple rocket launcher in behind the tail. I think the red one up on the top there, the left, is a unit that's one of the drones that were developed. I think they call the Jabiru. It's one of the dear old Neptune bombers, and then again more rockets and missiles. So that was Woomera, and we now turn left to Port Augusta, and the VMS navigator says that we are heading 128 degrees and Port Augusta is 172 kilometres south of where we are. So here we are driving along this flat top, almost mesa land plain, and there in front of us is the edge of Island Lagoon, which is a massive salt lake complex. Here we are adjacent to Gardiner's Lagoon, dropping off this plateau-like mesa jump-up country down into the salt pan, clay pan country. Here's one of these wonderful breakaways or jump-ups. We're entering more dune country, and you can see these dunes are sort of orangey rather than red, which could be either due to sun's angle or their calcareous origins, or or just the amount of mineralisation that's occurred in them. As you can see, as we go through the top of this red dune, more dunes coming to our south as we head towards Port Augusta. The long and winding road. Beauties about seeing road trains on the bitumen like this is that you can see that they're fairly innocuous, but you get them on the dirt road, you get right off the road and stop and let them go past. And the other thing to be wary of is that they usually travel in 2s or 3s or somewhere thereabout, and that can be very dangerous out on the dirt roads. Here comes number 2 of this pair. Tanami Transport. Into the Mulga country again, where we've got these stunted acacias and oak trees. Just coming into an area, they call it the Rangers View Rest Area, and look out and you can see why when if we pan around here, the ranges that span the horizon from, we're on the top of a range area here. We'll drop down into the flatlands, which are the remnants of the eroded material from these nearby ranges. This doesn't look too good.
Breathalyzer. Got your seatbelt on, yeah.
Oh, we've got the last trailer of the road train that's rolled over.
Just keep going.
Yeah, just fine.
Thanks,
Okay.
mate. Hopefully whatever the liquid is that's in the third trailer there is harmless or able to be contained until they can get it back upright again. So this is the entrance to the Australian Arid Lands Botanic Gardens, and if you ever get an opportunity to come here, I have to say that it's one of the fantastic establishments that we've got, because not only have they got all the local desert plants, but also they've brought in plants from other parts of the deserts and so on. So arid lands are desert. This is the Matthew Flinders Lookout, which looks out over the top of the Gulf from Port Augusta and out over the Flinders Ranges to the east of where we are here at the Arid Lands Desert Park, a superb interpretive facility and introduction to arid and semi-arid land plants. This is coming into the centre of Port Augusta, which is 2 kilometres away. We're now heading southwest from Port Augusta down to Whyalla at Port Lincoln. Welcome to Whyalla, an industrial centre on the western side of the Spencer Gulf. Here we have the HMAS Whyalla, and if you're here at the right time you can go and do tours. It says drop anchor and stay a while, and this is all part of the Whyalla Information Centre facility. Straight ahead to Port Lincoln, and we'll bypass the town centre of Whyalla. Tidy, nice town by the feel of it. This is the foreshore of Whyalla. We're just taking a tour down to the foreshore and the edge of the Spencer Gulf, and as you can see we have little choice but to go via the view over the steelworks. And this colour of water dead ahead has got me intrigued, because it's either indicates a very shallow sandy area leading out to deeper water, or an area of dirty water that leads out to clean water. And there is the Spencer Gulf, with lots of seagrass washed ashore on the sea here, and they are shallows leading out to the deeper water that causes the colour change. We're heading south from Port Augusta at the moment. massive open cut mine on our right in the Middleback Range. I presume it's iron ore. We're into the Mallee country well and truly now. You can see the sunset on Cowell, on Franklin Harbour, and Cowell is obviously an important wheat receival destination. Town Cowell, quite an interesting little town. There's some lovely old, delightful old buildings. Oh, there's a beautiful stands of mangroves right along the edge of the whole of the Spencer Gulf, as we see out here. Quite a lot of the white mangrove or Avicennia marina, and tide's in at the moment, so the Samphire mud flats are well covered, and a beautiful sunset. We're just leaving the western side of the Spencer Gulf town of Cowell and heading southwest towards Port Lincoln, down at the tip of the Eyre Peninsula. Just coming into Arno Bay, and you can see extensive wheat fields off to the right there, and we've just passed several bulk wheat silo systems, and we're going to go in here and do the mangrove walk for part of the Seashores book that I'm doing. Nice line of houses right next to the frontal dune, and looking back you can see some of the older wheat bulk storage systems, and further over to the west of those are the more modern shed-like systems and the use of tarpaulin covers over the bulk wheat. And there's that beautiful old hotel building, the Arno pub. And here we have the walking trails and barbecue and fishing and all sorts of options. So we're going to get out and go and have a walk in the mangroves. As you can see, that beautiful selection of the silver leaf or Avicennia mangrove on the other side of the creek there, and what's interesting at the moment is a massive amount of strapweed, seagrass, that's been washed in amongst all the mangroves right along this side of the Spencer Gulf. So we head south from Arno Bay towards Port Lincoln. Again, you can see this Mallee country vegetation on either side of the road, but then 20 metres in you've got wheat farms, and then tuna fish processing, quite rich oyster, mussels and swimmer crab populations around here. If the middens at the campsite we had by the beach last night is any indication, roadside signs back there said ballroom dancing once a month in the Lipson Hall. So if you want to learn a ballroom dance, you know where to come, down here on the Eyre Peninsula. We're just coming into Port Lincoln, a few crows going off a rabbit roadkill. Port Lincoln is about 20 kilometres from the tip of the Eyre Peninsula. Exceptional port, quite a lot of fisheries and supportive stuff for agriculture, some tourism. So Spencer Gulf to our left, and the port of Port Lincoln swings around to our left with a moderate sized ship there at the moment with 3 or 4 bulk wheat. This is in Port Lincoln, looking out over the port itself, and magnificent sand dunes that form the peninsula that goes to the south of us here. You can see them down there across the bay, across the port of Port Lincoln.